I'm not going to take too much of your time because it's going to be a very, very packed afternoon. You all wanted this session. You all said you wanted to know how to use iPhones to bring more impact and more presence on your websites, on your social media platforms, and to be able to just basically have a lot more access to humanize all the work that the ILO is doing, because you're under pressure to show that. And as you know, we saw this, we heard at the beginning, we're not getting any more resources to do this. So this is going to be a very cost-effective way to hopefully help you bring in more content, make things look really attractive, and I hope to have a little fun this afternoon as well, because you're going to be working. You're going to be doing a lot of physical stuff, a lot of digital stuff. It's very digital, and it's also very digital. So without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to my colleagues. Yes. Okay, so this is Anders Johnson, otherwise known as Alyosha to all of us, and this is Danielle Bruno. I think all of you at one point or another have emailed or talked to them, about some multimedia issue. So without further ado, Alyosha is going to show us the iPhone video filming, and Danielle will talk to us about photos. Actually, you'll talk a little bit about photos too.
No. Do you hear me? Does this work? Perfect. Okay.
It works.
Whoa! You always expect something to go wrong. I'm going to take you through using iPhones. Let's see if it wants to work. I seem to have already lost something. Ah, there we go. Are we... Perfect. I know a lot of you probably don't use iPhones. You probably have other platforms, like using an Android phone or anything else like that. For the time being, I'm going to be doing this using the iOS platform. There's equivalent apps for whether you're using Android or even Windows Phone or whatever. And usually they're more or less similar. But the basic skills I'm taking you through here apply to any kind of smartphone that you can get in the market today. And it's important because I find these days, there's the old saying that the best camera is the camera you have with you. So when you're in the field, when you're actually talking to not just constituents, but beneficiaries, it's always great to have your voice. It's one thing that, at least back at headquarters, that we always want more of, is just being able to hear somebody saying, I know it sounds kind of cheesy, but, the ILO has helped me do X. And being able to sort of get up close, meet people, and bring it back to a personal level is something that's very important. So if you open up, whether you're using iPhone, iPad, or whatever other system you have, you use your camera app. They all usually look more or less the same. This one. Now, the first thing when you're filming is please hold your phone horizontally. Vertical sort of videos, particularly if you want to put it up on YouTube and so on, don't work. If you're thinking about, Facebook or other social media platforms, it might be slightly different, but please, I really, really recommend holding your phone always horizontally. And don't be afraid of really getting in people's faces. Whether you're taking photographs or whether you're taking video of them, get up close. What makes for a good video, usually a good quality video, is usually three things. You want to make sure that it's horizontal. You have to have good audio. For audio, it's important to get up close, particularly with iPhones. These days, you can actually get some relatively good sort of additional microphones. Here's a small sort of lavalier that you can hook up to your phone. You put it on the person that you're interviewing. You'll get much better sound. You can also get little microphones like this one here that you add on to you stick onto the end of your camera, and you'll get much better sound. These days you can get them for less than $20. If you're actually thinking about getting something in the field, don't hesitate to drop us a line or an email and ask if we have any kind of recommendations. Also, most of what I'm going to be covering now, you'll find online on our SharePoint platforms. We really encourage you to go onto the SharePoint platform, to look at the videos that are there, the documents, which our great colleague Eric May has put together. The next thing you want to think of is to keep your video as stable as possible. So usually if you can get some kind of cheap stand of some sort, for example one of these here, you'll just more or less keep your camera in place. You can get these small ones here, which are actually quite useful as well. Huh? So then you can use this. You can also, turn them into sort of small little, how do you call it, tripods. Another thing, if you don't have that available, use a desk. Just hold it up on the desk. If you're interviewing somebody like Damia, hold it, sort of the camera down, sort of put it on a kind of platform, whether it's books or anything like that, or hold it really close to your chest, as close as possible to yourself when you're filming. When you're filming with iPhones or any other kind of smartphone, they usually have a sort of auto-detect function in terms of lighting, which means that if the person you're interviewing moves, the lighting will change. And that usually looks pretty ugly. So I also recommend that you use, when you're interviewing somebody, that you use what they call focus lock. And the way you do this, for example, I've got my colleague Damien here. If I focus on him, you should be able to see his face there. If I press and hold on his face, see now it's locked, which means that the focus and the lighting will not change. So I can stay on him. Yay! Nice little smile. When interviewing people, it's always good to ask them beforehand, before you even ask your questions, to tell them that when you edit this, you're going to be taking the question out. So could they please sort of rephrase their answer? So for example, if you're asking them, are you happy to be in Turin? Get them to say that again. To say, I am happy to be in Turin, as opposed to just saying yes. Because yes as an answer is not very useful once you actually put it up on your website. So for example, I'll just quickly film Damien. Can you give me your name, please?
My name is Damien Riuno. I work for DCOM.
And what do you think of Turin so far?
I'm very happy to be in the ITC. I've never been to the Turin Center before, so I'm very glad to be here and to meet my colleagues from the field.
Wonderful. One thing to keep in mind is if they're giving a very long answer, ask the question again and just tell them. You want to use this interview. If the answer is too long, you won't be able to use it. And explain that to them, and usually they'll be happy to do it again and just sort of try to give their answer in a shorter form, because they want to be used. They want to end up being used in a video of some sort. So don't hesitate to tell them, look, we need a really short answer. In terms of being able to then put it up online, you want to be able to take out your question. You want to sort of, what we say, top and tail it, sort of keep it really sort of just the important quote you like, particularly if they've given a much longer answer. So the way that you do that on iPhones, and usually in different apps it's more or less the same, is if you click on the camera, so you can now see the video itself. Should we? Are we seeing? Is it frozen? There we go, okay. Well, it's odd. There's a little, on the top right-hand corner, usually, there's 3 bars. That's the one to use for doing editing. So you click that, and you'll now have this. The little white line allows you to scroll through and see your what Daniel was saying and his answer.
Sorry,
Yeah.
tell us how you got there again?
There's, you see, we're the joys of. It's not showing up on screen, but when you click on the video itself or your photograph with the same function, there's usually an edit button. which is 3 sort of horizontal lines in the top right-hand corner. You click on that and this is what you'll get. The yellow bar, the white bar is scrolling. That shows you where you are in the video. And if you want to change where the video starts and ends, you click the little sort of arrows at the bottom. You hold that, and then you drag it forwards and back, and then you can sort of arrange it so that, you know, it starts just when Damien gives his answer. Same thing for the end. And then you press done. It'll ask you, do you want to save it as a new video or save it as the old one? I usually just say trim original. It'll then create a new video, you know, it'll then edit the video, and now you have a video which you can then throw up onto YouTube or anywhere else, save it onto your computer, which will have just the answer you're looking for. In terms of photography, when you're actually going out into the field, it's always good to have, yeah?
Before you go to photography,
Mm-hmm.
if we want to put 2 videos together,
If you want
copy
to,
one video and we have 2 different interviews and we want to edit and, you know, put the
yeah,
footage
for
together.
that, you'd need to use specialized applications or softwares. Unfortunately, we don't have the time to go into that today. You can either use iMovie, which will come on, you know, on apps, you know, on, for example, tablets. You can download several, for example, Adobe does one called Adobe Clip, you know, which you can, for iPhones or for Android, it works on both. It allows you to edit videos together. Unfortunately, for time reasons, we can't really go into that, and in any cases, we'll see soon. For exercise, we're just looking for one good quote.
We'll do a handout. We'll put these things on handouts.
And then, just getting back quickly to photographs. When you open up most video apps, you'll usually have while I get this back again. Don't hesitate usually most of the time to, if you're, regardless of whether you're in the field or if you're in a meeting someplace, same thing, get up close to people. It's always good to have people's reactions. If you're talking to a beneficiary somewhere who's doing, learning how to do carpentry as they're coming out of child labor, you know, get also some close-ups of their hands, of their actions that they're doing, and of their faces. And even somebody who's maybe a little bit awkward, as it were, in front of the camera, go for it anyway. You're always better off having a photograph that you decide, actually, I'm not going to use this, as opposed to a photograph which is, as opposed to not having any at all. Saying it's Apple TV is being used by someone else. Oh.
Somebody connected by... No, I disconnected because normally when it's like that, there's... Let me check.
Okay, well, what I just want to show is that most of the time, when you open up a photography app, what you'll actually see is that there's lines on the screen that sort of break up your video or your photograph into sort of 9 squares. And that allows you to frame your video following what we call the rule of thirds. So you keep your person either onto the left or to the right, and makes the framing, generally speaking, a lot nicer. Also, don't hesitate to use the inbuilt filters, or play around with your video to make it a little bit more, your photograph to make it a little bit more colorful or something like that. Anything that you usually would do if you're making your selfie look better is something that you can also apply to photographs that you want to put up onto the website. And then lastly, when you are actually creating photographs for the ILO website, you want to keep in mind that they use specific sizes. So you have to always resize your photograph before you then upload it to the WCMS system. And that's something that my colleague Damien will now walk you through using a website app that works regardless of whether you're using your office PC or your home PC or, Mac or whatever. Yeah.
Okay, so we suppose that you have taken your picture. picture, and you have them in your computer. You will go onto a website that is recommended by our colleague from the web. I don't know if you want to. You have here in the quick WCMS guide the reference to it. It's here. Useful online photo tools. Pixlr. It's an online photo editor. That is actually this. So you go to pixlr.com, and it might ask you to have to upload a Flash player or something. So you click yes, and then you will see this window appearing. From there, you can open an image from your computer with this option. So if you click here, you will arrive into a window and you can select a picture. So I'm going to take a picture that I already have on my desktop. This one. Actually, nice picture from Malawi. And I will show you how to resize that with the appropriate pixel ratio that can be used by a colleague from the web. So in here you see a little menu called constraint, and you have output size. If I click here, it gives me the current width and height of the picture, 3000 by 200, 2002. So you will put here the pixel size you want. So instead of 3000, I will have 767
by 431.
by 431.
Size you want is the size of the web.
No, it's the
Size
size
of
that
the
where people impose on me.
Yeah. And then you will frame your picture with this little tool called the crop tool. I don't know if you see it here in the corner. You select that, and when you will go and drag on the picture, it will make a rectangular exact ratio that you have selected. So you then readjust your frame exactly with the right ratio like that. And then you click anywhere, and you say, do you want to apply the changes? Then you will click on yes, and you will have your pictures now resized at the appropriate ratio. And then, of course, you now will save by doing File, Save, and it will give you the Save Image window. You rename your pictures, on your picture with same name or whatever, and then you call it resized. And you select the best quality. It gives you more or less an idea of the size of the picture. As you can see here, 343 kilobits, which is web friendly.
300.
300 kilobytes. A bit big. Well, you can reduce a bit the quality. You can see by scrolling it down, you see 89, better. 89, and then you, okay, you decide where you want to save it on the desktop. And the picture is saved, ready to go. Over here. So, yeah, well, yeah, I think I'm done with the pictures.
Yeah, it's got the picture.
You want to add something?
Very, very quickly, the reason why we suggest you use this tool or Photoshop if you have it is to avoid having stretched pictures to fit in the web, because I keep seeing a lot of pictures, I mean, and now it's Justin probably, seeing stretched pictures because you have, like, I don't know, a portrait or a square picture and you try to make it fit into the ILO website ratio. So you resize it, but if you resize a picture that doesn't have the same ratio, then your picture is stretched. Hence, this tool enables you to resize and crop the picture at the same time without you having to do the calculation.
Stretch or squeeze, depends on the picture.
Yeah,
But yeah.
just
So you then keep exactly the right size and keep the person that doesn't slim or bigger. So we're gonna practice all that now in the group. So Karen, I don't know if you want to add anything before we divide it into groups. I'm done with the.
Okay, so you got all that, right? Okay, if you don't, we've loaded something called Damien's Notes under all your group, what do you call these things, the group windows or whatever. You know, you have a folder for this track. And in that folder, you'll find, the facilitators will find their notes on how the group work is going to work. And you'll find Damien's notes about how that works and how to transfer files, which is a bit, something we'll do a bit later. So what we're going to do is go into group work. We're going to ask you to pair off into pairs and ask you to role play using this morning's case study that I think you had for the feature. If you worked on a feature, or even if you didn't, it's the same document. So of course you've read it, you know what the story is, you know what the characters are. Pick any character you want, and we'd like you to actually really role play one of those characters. One of you asks the question, the other one answers as if they're that character. We're looking for 15-second sound bites. 15 seconds. So the challenge is, hopefully your interviews, the interview will be short and sweet, but you know how it is. People like to ramble. So as Alyosha said, don't be afraid to re-ask. If they're going on and on, say, great, but can you give me that in this much time? We also want you to take a picture of that character, and it doesn't have to be a portrait. If you're pretending to be a child laborer, you can pretend to, I don't know, be digging a ditch or something. The idea is to get a sort of an action photo or some kind of an interesting photo, because we don't want boring photos in our social media and on our websites, right? Then after that, the group facilitators will tell you, will lead you through the rest of it. But you're also going to be asked to do a title, blurb, and caption, because all of this material is for use in the next 2 sessions. I don't know so much about the social media, but certainly Letitia and Justin's session at it's the last one, right? The last session will be using your content. So after that, you'll come back, we'll have a look at all your different videos, and then we're going to go into some YouTube basics, and then hopefully if there's still some time before the cooking class, we'll do some codecs and file transfers, which will, we'll go through. Anyway, I hand it over to Tom now for the divisions.
Thanks a lot, Karen, for the